Hi guys, welcome to another video. For today we're going to be checking out Joe Rogan literally shutting down and destroying woke people. And not only any people, but actual guests on his podcast. This is amazing.
Some debates stay civil, others get heated. But one thing remains the same. Joe Rogan never lets bad arguments go unchecked. Starting with Adam Conover, who stepped in with the usual argument, sports should be more inclusive, and trans athletes should compete by identity.
As far as trans athletes go, you know, we could sit here and talk for 3
Thanks,
hours
Trump,
about like all the different ways that hormones might affect your body and might not affect your body. And I'm not an expert on that, and I don't want to claim to be, right? But a sports with trans athletes who are, competing with the, with their gender, right? That is a sporting world that I'm more interested in, right? And I think we should find a way to make that happen.
But as always, Joe wasn't about to let flawed logic slide.
So in most sports, most physical sports, we do not have males compete with females.
Yep.
The question becomes,
there is a reason.
When someone who is male transitions and becomes female, do those same physiological advantages apply? And what is the evidence? Well, the evidence in competition seems to be that it shows that it does apply.
He pressed even further with an argument.
Just the outcome shows you. Just like the couple past years where transgenders were allowed to compete against women. Like the outcome tells you. The numbers are there.
Argument no one could refute.
So if you're a woman and you're a natural woman and you don't take any extra hormones or male hormones, you're not taking steroids or any sort of performance enhancing drugs, you're doing your very best to compete and you're at the top of the heap. But then someone comes along that was a man for 30 years and decides that they're going to be a woman, and this has happened, and literally transitioned a few months ago and competes as a woman and destroys records and dominates you in that sport. That's bullshit.
Adam tried to argue that this was a case-by-case situation, but Joe wasn't letting him off that easy.
Well, I disagree, and
what do you disagree about?
I've already my main point being the one that I already made, right? That like I don't think that there is such a thing as a perfectly level playing field. I think we decide what kind of playing field we want to have.
Okay, then if that is the case, then women and men should be competing in sports. And let's see how many women will win. Zero women would win. All right? Fair? Is that fair?
Sure, but we do make the distinction where we don't allow men to compete in women's divisions.
And I think that distinction may be breaking down a bit.
No.
Right? And I think it may be time to break down that
distinction.
It
shouldn't
Then the conversation took a sharp turn. Gender transitions for kids. Adam stuck to the activist playbook.
Oh, no, not
You're
this
seeing folks transition much earlier age, you know.
There's
idiocracy.
And so if someone is transitioning from the age of 7 years old, right?
He insisted that trans kids are consistent in their identity, and that's why early transitions should be supported. But Joe wasn't having it.
We just scratched upon the idea of kids transitioning at a very early age. I mean, there's been more scientific evidence that points that if kids don't do that, then when they wanted to be trans at an early age, they just become gay men, and that there's nothing wrong with that either. There's no reason to give kids hormones, and there's no reason to decide before a person's frontal lobe is completely fully developed.
The research I've seen is that trans kids from a young age, they are incredibly consistent in when they're expressing their gender identity.
But Joe wasn't about to let an unverified claim slide.
So a big generalization. You're talking about a lot of human beings.
Yeah, but
that fits this narrative by saying they're incredibly consistent. But if you polled these people, what are you talking about?
With no solid data, Adam tried a different approach, using a personal example to make his point.
I have a friend who has a trans kid. Don't know the kid's exact age, but we're in the age range that we're talking about. And he's explained that my child from a very young age consistently said, I am a girl, and has never contradicted them.
Dude, it's a child. If the child tells you something like that and your reaction is whatever and you move on, the child will move on as well. The child is not going to come to tell you, oh, please give me hormones. Let me change this. Let me have that. Let me have boobs. The child will not deal with that. The child is full of imaginations that we should not, as grown-ups, be supporting to the point of giving them hormones. Hormones, make it make sense, you guys. Also, at the end of the day, it is on the parent. Children love to please their parent, especially at a young age. So if they see that you are being happy by what they are saying, they will continue to say it. If they behave a certain way and you are encouraging it, they will continue doing it. You will put that into their mind and brain that that is the way to go. And that's why they grow up thinking that that is the right way, because you as a parent approved of it. Not only that, you literally told them your action, the way you are surprised and happy for it, that this is the right way.
Themselves never change their mind. And
so it is a lot on the parent.
And the thing that he felt was good to do as a parent was to like embrace that choice on his child's part, right?
Embrace that choice, meaning hormonally.
I shouldn't even phrase it as a choice, like embrace that identity.
But it is a choice, right? I mean, if you're choosing to add hormones to a child's body, that's a choice.
That is a choice.
It's a choice on the it's a choice on the part of the parent. It's not a choice on the part of the child.
Joe let him talk, then landed the final blow.
If they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
That is legit the most perfect thing I have heard today, last week, and last year of my life. That perfect! If they already think that they are a certain identity, why do you have to reinforce it with hormones? Why do you have to mess up with their body? To the point where legit when they grow up and they want to change something and they feel a different way, they cannot go back. You screw them forever.
Because... I'm sorry, can you expand on the question?
It's a simple question. If you say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones.
Mm-hmm.
If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have, why are you adding hormones?
But it's not just guests who challenge Rogan. Sometimes the media tries too. Like when Joy Behar confidently declared that Joe Rogan believed in dragons. As proof,
oh, not this point. Oh my God. Like, this is so shameful for her own career. This is the stupidest thing that she has ever said. Like, they're going to explain it probably in the video, but like Joe Rogan never said that. He never said it. It's from these pictures, historical pictures of dragons and people fighting dragons. Like, it is the storytelling. They probably saw a crocodile that looks like a dragon, you know, without wings, and they imaginary put wings on it and stuff. Like, it is different. It is a different.
That's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
we're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have, you know, the legal note here.
But you are wrong.
We went from
Joe should sue her for this.
Basically, to this guy Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons.
No, he doesn't.
He believes in dragons. He
No, he
believes in
doesn't.
dragons.
Did you triple force that?
Yes, I did. And he also thinks that dragons, like I guess like dinosaur type of animals, roamed the earth when people did.
Rogan, of course, wasn't about to let that nonsense slide.
This is where it came from. And the View decided from this and from me talking about it with Adrienne Appalucci the other day, explaining what Forrest says and saying that I don't think that there was pterodactyls living with people. I said it, no. She said maybe they did live with us. I'm like, no. I thought my position is it's probably crocodiles or some big Komodo dragon or some big lizard that did kill people. And so people fought them with swords and shit, and they came back with a story, and then the artist drew it. And these things.
You saw one of those at night.
He pulled up the actual conversation.
Even the drawing
where
doesn't
he
have
had
wings
said
on
the
those
exact
dragons.
opposite.
Doesn't hold any weight? Like
no,
there's actually dragons?
I mean, we know there were large flying lizards during the times of dinosaurs, right? The only weight that it could possibly hold is that like a few of those somehow survived much later than we previously thought.
Jesus.
But do I think that there were dragons attacking human beings and civilizations? No, I don't.
J.D. Vance looks terrible.
It's so much cooler if there were. And like, the fact that we know that
that's what he said. It would be
exist,
cooler
that's
if
cool.
they were.
It would be way cooler as if they existed with people.
Right,
If
2,000
they
years ago.
existed.
Why is that? Why is that so much cooler to us?
I don't know.
It's like
He literally saying it would be cool if they did exist. Not, I believe they exist. She fact checked. She triple checked it, you guys. ABC News.
I mean, people would dedicate giant chunks of their life trying to find out if pterodactyls did coexist with human beings.
Oh, yeah.
After laying out exactly what he said, Rogan wasn't done. Bihar's accusation wasn't just ridiculous, it was proof of how the media twists reality to fit their narrative.
This is the most important part.
I don't know these people.
Hey, this is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons.
Yeah. The whole delivery.
By saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of what he said. You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news. And we said Donald Trump is Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won. And this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons. It's just frantic.
If you believe.
However, Thaddeus Russell took a different approach, arguing that gender isn't biologically determined at all.
Said it. Oh my God.
What a lot of the trans movement now is doing is a good word, reifying. They're making these ideas, these abstractions.
Bro, like now we are making words. Okay, yeah, it's in the dictionary. It exists. It's a legit word.
Real again. They're making these claims that are similar to Sam Harris's claims and to old racist claims and to old sexist claims that if you're born a particular way biologically, this is who you are. Right? Because you've heard a lot of trans people say this, right? I was born a woman. That's what they often say.
But they were not.
What I'm saying is
born a man.
No one was born anything.
Joe, on the other hand, wasn't just sharing his opinion, he was stating facts, and he made sure Thaddeus knew it.
There's no way this grown-ass man is saying that.
You don't think that some women are born women and some, you don't think you're born a man?
No.
What are you born? Why are you a man?
For all sorts of reasons.
For all sorts of reasons. Yeah. None of them being biological.
Neutral.
None of them being the XY chromosome. None of them being the fact that you generally gravitate towards male activities like boxing, kickboxing.
Russell kept pushing the idea that gender is fluid, using Andy Dick and UFC fighter Yoel Romero.
Who is the first person who came up with this and was talking, and then another person believed, and then they started talking it, and now it became a thing? This is the dumbest shit ever.
As examples, but Joe wasn't buying it, using Andy Dick and UFC fighter Yoel Romero as examples, but Joe wasn't buying it.
We just went through this whole thing.
No, you didn't.
Yoel Romero and Andy Dick.
Yeah, but you.
Why are they both men?
But you're a man.
Yeah.
Right? We're not talking about the broad spectrum of masculine behavior. We're talking about no one is born a man. You're not born a man. I'm not born a man.
I'm saying that no. I think
we're getting silly.
Hold on here.
Yeah,
I think it's the category of man becomes meaningless.
Does it?
What does that mean?
We just did this, man.
No, we didn't. We definitely didn't do
Yoel
this.
Romero and Andy Dick are both
it's a broad category. The lines get blurry at the ends of the spectrum, and I think they cross over. The male-female lines do cross over when you get to that Kenyan runner and Andy Dick.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's so broad that it becomes, to me, pretty damn meaningless.
That's when Joe Rogan brought some much-needed common sense into the conversation.
Anymore.
Andy has children. He made them. He impregnated different women and got babies from them.
There's a lot of people called men who don't and can't.
Okay, yeah,
Can't.
but that's rare.
Yeah, that's an anomaly. That is an anomaly. They are sick.
Not that rare.
No, they basically cannot do it. Like physically, they cannot do it because they have an anomaly. All right, it's not because that's how their body should behave. It's just they're sick. That's the disease that they are with.
Oh, it's very rare.
It happens.
Most men, when they have sex with a woman and they put sperm in their body, they can make a baby.
So that's one characteristic.
But hold on a second. You're making it as if it's a really common thing. When you're talking about like a small fraction of the men can't make babies. An incredibly small fraction.
So the
vast majority of males with the XY chromosome who have penises are capable of impregnating a female with an XX chromosome.
When did the world become a thing where we talk about like the minority of it, like the milli% of it, and putting it higher than the norms? All right, like making it like divine compared to the norms, and not only that, extracting the norm and shitting on it just to make this minority or this divine thing more important and the ultimate truth. What is going on in here? How did this shift?
However, Brian Dunning took a more aggressive approach, calling Joe one of the top 10 celebrities who promote harmful pseudoscience.
let me go back again to how this is a good segue to what I wrote back in 2008.
Okay, please.
Okay, so I think you were number 8 on my list of top 10 celebrities who promote harmful pseudoscience. And here's the paragraph that I wrote on you. Number 8, Joe Rogan. Comedian Joe Rogan does what he can to promote virtually any conspiracy theory that he stumbles onto, apparently accepting them all uncritically with a wholesale embrace.
That is literally not who Joe Rogan is. I listen to his podcast. I don't listen to everything. I listen to the stuff that interests me. Joe Rogan always asks questions. He is always the voice of us. Like if I am listening to a guest talking, I come up with a question, like I want it answered, and he literally asks the same question that I would be asking as an individual who is first time maybe introduced to these things. He is not the person who's like saying, yes, 100% that's true. Yeah, let's go with it. No, he never does that.
Now, I know you would disagree with that now.
Of course I would.
Okay, and I want to give you that chance. So let me continue. The worst part is that he promotes these ideas to the public at every interview opportunity, but gives himself the intellectual get-out-of-jail-free card of not needing any evidence by hiding behind the childish debate technique of saying, hey, I'm just the guy asking questions.
Joe, on the other hand, wasn't having it.
Well, it's just factually inaccurate on so many different levels. I don't understand why you wrote it like that.
Because many of us, myself included, think that it does more harm than good, because you're suggesting to anyone who might be on the fence, you're suggesting to them that there is a debatable question here, something that's crazy and has no...
Why not? Why not? We are allowed to listen to every perspective, every conspiracy theory, every idea out there, and we as humans with brains can question it and come up with the ultimate truth that is for us something that makes sense. So what he's trying to, freedom of speech for him doesn't exist, all right? Like basically he wants to eliminate ideas, he wants to eliminate theories, he wants to, like, what is the world we're living in then? That is not democracy, my friend.
Possible evidence for it.
Brian argued that even debating certain topics was harmful, but Joe wasn't about to accept that.
No.
When you agree to have a debate, you're going to convince anyone who's on the fence, oh, maybe there is a question here that needs to be looked at. And in fact, I think it's arguable that you do more harm than good.
Joe flipped the script, using that very example of September 11th to make Brian agree with him.
To deny that these things exist, I think, is silly. Because then you fuel the conspiracy theories even more, because you're denying something that seems obvious to the eye. The average person that looks at that building says, yes, that does look like a controlled demolition. Does that mean it is? No, it doesn't. But to pretend that it doesn't look like that is...
It literally adds more to it. Like, hey, we are not talking about that, and everybody is ignoring this theory, which makes me think that is a dangerous theory, and maybe it is the truth. And not having any argument about it is doing more harm. In my opinion, that makes it more harmful. That you're not debating it, you're not talking about it, you're not even adding it to the equation.
Ridiculous.
Okay,
to pretend that it's not odd that it falls at free fall speed is...
I'm not sure anyone is denying that it looks like a... The
now
part of
we
it
are
you can see in the video, it does. It looks exactly
So
very
you
much
agree
like
with
a
me.
controlled
So you
demolition.
criticize me for what you agree with.
No,
you
no,
agree
no.
that it looks like a controlled demolition. Discussing it.
Then came the debate on gun
Discussing
control.
it, yep.
Pete Dominic called the Constitution outdated and pushed for stricter laws, setting the stage for a classic Rogan takedown.
But our Constitution is also silly. Like, let's remake everything. Like, let's have that conversation. There's so much better that we can do. Have a serious conversation about what kind of guns and bullets people can have. Not that they can have them or that they can't have. Like, that's the conversation. That's where we should be right now. Everything gets regulated. Everything. I agree with that.
What I'm saying about the gun thing, the most f***ed up part about the messiness of the gun thing is that even if you made guns illegal, even if you said you can't have any bullets, you'll all go to jail. There's so many guns. You're not getting them all.
Oh yeah, like regulating that and actually going that deep to take all the guns from all the citizens in America, that first it's gonna cost so much money, then it's gonna be so tedious, it's gonna take so much time, and also it's gonna be very, very dangerous because there are people who don't want to give that away because they think by giving that away, they are giving away their freedom, they're giving away their peace, their life. So and it is something that Americans has grew up with, knowing that if they have a gun, they they have security in their life. They only can rely on themselves and the gun in their hand to protect themselves and their families. And I personally do not agree with that because I live in Germany. We don't have guns. Europe, the world, if you look around you, only America actually legalizes that, and all the world lives peacefully. We have the same amount of crime, maybe even less crime and less of these mass murders in America that you have in America. So I don't think that it is necessary to possess guns to have peace in a country. There are other ways, but it is very difficult to remove that equation right now in the American culture and tradition and the way they are living their life, the way they learned, you know. So besides the regulations being very difficult.
It's not possible. There's more guns than there are people, which means there's more than 30 million guns in this country alone.
Pete proposed a buyback program, saying people would hand in their guns for money.
Never.
Joe wasn't convinced.
They will never.
So, by the way,
maybe some.
I think you buy as many as you can back for sure. You spend a whole bunch of taxpayer money. Just help. By the way, there's a ton of people in a bind right now that have a rifle, but like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to afford my insulin. Let me get rid of this AK-47 to live another month. You buy some guns back. It's a good expenditure of money, and then melt them down and turn them into furniture for people.
So if you wanted to do that without changing the Second Amendment, like you just have a buyback where you just offer people the opportunity to make some money by giving their guns up.
Then Pete tried to argue that the Second Amendment was misinterpreted.
Well, the Second Amendment has been interpreted wrong by the Supreme Court, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't say that people should have, until 2008, it didn't say that. Nobody thought that people should have a personal right to guns till the Heller case. But, so I don't think you even need to talk about the Second Amendment. I think just people just need to agree that these guns shouldn't be sold.
Well,
the
you
ammunition.
need to talk about the Second Amendment. I mean, it's a big conversation.
No, because people can have guns. You can have guns. The brick has a right to have guns. You just can't have these guns anymore. No more of those ones. You can have all these guns.
Regional restrictions anyway, right? Like
and they
in New
work.
York City, you can't have a handgun.
Yeah, they work.
Right?
You can't even. I don't think you can have you can have a switchblade in New York City.
Joe pushed back with simple, undeniable logic.
The main issue is definitely the guns and the bullets in them.
Well, the main issue is the person that's capable of shooting people
That's
with the guns
too...
and the bullets.
No, it's the guns and the bullets.
The guns and the bullet are in it.
The guns and the bullets will not do the harm. The person is going to do the harm. But also, how are you going to regulate the person and their mindset? How are you going to like physically be capable of determining if that person is in their mind healthy, that they would not do something so crazy? So many times we had examples of people who by fact, they say, oh, they were the nicest people. I would never have expected them to just one day go boom, you know, and then mass murder everybody and children, mass murdering other by finding these guns. And like it is hard. I agree with Joe Rogan, but I also kind of don't.
Animate objects without a person pulling the trigger, we're talking nonsense here. They're not going to just shoot themselves. The main problem is someone who's willing. The main problem is someone who's willing to grab the gun and shoot people, right? We agreed. We both agree there's problems with having guns. But don't you think the main problem is the person who actually shoots people?
Flint Dibble, meanwhile, tried to smear Graham Hancock by linking his work to white supremacy theories. Joe wasn't letting that slide.
But listen, this quote here, reinforce white supremacist ideas, stripping indigenous people with a rich heritage, and instead giving credit to aliens or white people. None of those things are true.
I know. Graham doesn't even talk about aliens.
Right, but
so
did
that's
you
why I'm
say that?
I said that not in specific relation to Hancock's claims, but in specific relation to this narrative of Atlantis.
This sort of phrase, science is outdated and long since debunked, especially given the strong links between Atlantis and Aryans proposed by several Nazi archaeologists. But you didn't say that? Then how are they allowed to smear your name and quote you?
That has gone back hundreds of years.
Right, but that...
Here's The Guardian. So they're misquoting you, are they? As Dibble states, such claims reinforce white supremacist ideas. They strip indigenous people of their rich heritage and instead give credit to aliens or white people. Why didn't you get The Guardian to put that right?
And that is in quotation, by the way. Quotation marks, which means they quoted him.
Well, I don't.
Did you actually say that, though?
I did not say that Graham reinforces white supremacist ideas. As I've said,
so this quote is not real?
But Joe wasn't done. He turned up the heat on Flint, pressing him to take responsibility for his words.
They stripped the stories of Atlantis? Yes. And I think that that's an issue. So, Graham, you go around the world to megalithic sites, right?
So the quote, reinforce white supremacist ideas, that's not yours.
No, that's not a quote. It's not in quotation.
Right, it was in the other article.
It was.
That's what I'm getting
and
to.
Again,
they strip indigenous people of their rich heritage and give credit to aliens or white people.
Well,
in short, the series promotes ideas of race science that are outdated and long debunked. And this is your own.
Right, but that's not his quote.
This is your own article, Flint. Here you are. I'm quoting from. That's a quote from your article, published in The Conversation.
Graham, visibly frustrated, chimed in.
This sort of race science is outdated and long since debunked, especially given the strong links between Atlantis and Aryans proposed by several Nazi archaeologists. You are associating me with this.
Nazi archaeologists. Like, oh, like, who are you talking about, I wonder? Like, we're not dumb. We exactly know who you're talking about.
And you are attempting
He can run away from
I'm
this.
asking you to distance yourself from that. Is actually what
How the hell is he going to distance himself from that when the actual title of the article is with Netflix Ancient Apocalypse? Graham, his name is in it, has declared war on archaeologists.
That's not what you're doing, though. You're associating him with that.
Exactly.
Clearly.
I don't think so. I do not see this as propaganda.
Look at the way it's phrased on your article.
Flint tried to walk it back, but Joe hit him with the final blow.
So you want me to show you some tweets I've gotten from people that are fans of Graham Hancock and think?
What does that have to do with anything?
Don't do that. They're not connected to him. They're just humans. There's a lot of crazy people in the world. This is you. We're talking about you.
It is so true. And it's so dumb that he brings other people into it. Like, especially on the internet, the crazy people, haters, they can say and type behind, like, anonymously, whatever. You're not going to take their word to, like, expand on whatever logic you have. At the end of the day, we are talking about what you said, all right? And that is the conversation we are having here. So you bringing other people into it, deflecting, basically, like, makes no sense whatsoever.